Kyle Connor checking in at number 40 out of Winnipeg. He ranked 35th on our list last year, drops 5 spots to number 40. Connor ranking 8th among all NHL skaters in even strength goals over the past 4 years, behind the likes of only Austin Matthews, Alex Ovechkin, Connor McDavid, Patrick Kane, John Tavares, Brad Marchand, and Nathan MacKinnon. Some of the top names that we have in the NHL right now. This is a guy that maybe kind of gets lost in the shuffle as far as superstars in the NHL. Why do you think that is?
Well, because he plays with a lot of other good players. You got Blake Wheeler there and Mark Scheifele there. And Patrick Laine, who was a great goal scorer, is a great goal scorer. And maybe Kyle Connor doesn't get considered with those guys or maybe a step below those guys. But I think the numbers speak for themselves. Kyle Connor is one of, as you mentioned, the greatest goal scorers in the NHL. Look at the last few seasons where he ranks. And look at the names that he is around. Everyone would acknowledge those 5-6 guys ahead of him are the best goal scorers in the world. And he's right there. He's right there with them, with that kind of company. That's what he does best. The hardest thing to do in the NHL is to score goals. And Kyle Connor has a great gift of it. We talk about his goal scoring. Before we get to the goal scoring, I want to highlight his speed. Because in a straight line foot race, Kyle Connor, like all great goal scorers, they have that extra gear when they need it to get a chance. He absolutely fly up the ice and score goals. And then the fact that you don't score as much as he does without being able to score in every different kind of way. He has all the different shots, whether it's in tight, from distance, wrist shot, backhand, snapshot, breakaways, dekes, whatever it might be. He can do it all, and that's why he's on this list.
Falling 5 spots. Do you agree with that, or do you think we've seen his ceiling just yet in the NHL?
Well, I think we've seen his ceiling,
and
it's really, really high.
Very high.
I mean, he's a top 50 player in the world. That's a great ceiling to have, and I think he probably will flutter between 35 and 50, and that's kind of where he belongs, and that is a great compliment to him. So I wouldn't put too much in him falling a couple slots because he had an off year or anything like that. I think, if anything, with Patrick Laine leaving Winnipeg, Kyle Connor showed his versatility. He slid right over to the one-timer spot on his offside the way Patrick Laine did, and Winnipeg's power play did not miss a beat. He is consistent year after year. He'd go and bangs out 25-plus, sometimes all the way up to 40-plus. He's that good of a goal scorer, and so I expect him, in his sleep, he'll score 25 goals every year he plays and is healthy.
Look at the last 4 years and look at the names he's up there with.
Imagine when he gets a full 82 games going.
Consistency. Kyle Connor coming in at number 40. And that is why Mika Zibanejad comes in at number 39 on our top 50 list. He was 22nd last year, dropping a few spots, but still, Mika Zibanejad getting it done for the Rangers last season. 24 goals in 56 games. First 27 games, Johnny, just 3 goals. Final 29 games, this guy lit it up. Nobody better than Zibanejad in New York. 21 goals in 29 games. Woo! Totaling 39 points during that stretch.
Get it.
There were a lot of question marks with him and the start of the season. What is wrong with Mika Zibanejad? He silenced all those critics in the second half of the season.
Well, let's not lose the fact that he had COVID right before the season started.
Exactly.
And so we understandably got off to a bit of a slower start because we know when Zibanejad gets hot, he can run as hot for as long as anybody in the NHL. And you look at the way he closed out a couple years ago, the way he closed out last year. I think those are ridiculous numbers, almost a goal a game for 23 straight games a couple years ago, 21 and 29. Those are not hot runs. That is just elite-level play that spans months of that kind of play. And I think that's what makes him special is, when he gets it going, he keeps it going. And he can score in a whole bunch of different ways. He's not just a product of Artemi Panarin. They don't play together all the time, not 5-on-5. And yet there is Zibanejad driving offense, creating his goals. He's a big guy, Jameson. You think of him skilled, you see him flying down the ice. You don't realize he weighs 220 pounds. Like, he's a big, heavy player, and he can really, really shoot it. He's got all the forehand shots, including a big one-timer, which makes him so valuable in the power play. He's a pivotal part of the New York Rangers and what they're trying to do. And I think what we saw at the beginning of last year was the aberration. What we saw at the end is something closer to what he is, which is a point-per-game player or more, a half-goal-a-game player or more. He has really just blossomed into one of the best offensive centermen in the league in New York.
And a bargain at 5.5.
Not for long, though.
No,
Mika will get
UFA
paid
next summer. What do you think, based on the numbers that we've seen him put up consistently over the last couple of years, what do you think the target price for this guy is next summer?
That is $8 to $9 to $10 million per year on a 7 or 8 year contract. We saw Couturier just signed for just under $8 million. Zibanejad probably puts up better numbers than him offensively. So that's the kind of stratosphere he belongs in. That's where he is right now in his career. And He just has the knack for scoring goals. And I love the fact that, again, a guy who's, when you score this much, you're going to score a whole bunch of different ways. But he can really heavy shot. You can just feel it when you're at a game and you watch the Rangers play and you listen to the way his shot sounds and you watch it come off his stick. He has such a heavy shot. That is his greatest weapon, and another really good offensive season for him last year. Well, again this year.
All right, like we said, kind of dropping in our rankings. But as far as the Rangers go, they seem to be on the rise. The likes of Panarin, we'll see him a little bit later on in our list, maybe in the top 10. That's yet to be seen. You've got Adam Fox, who just won the Norris. The goaltending position seems solidified for the future. What do you make of the New York Rangers going forward?
I mean, you just mentioned a whole bunch of the parts you really have to like. Now, they've taken a bit of a change in complexion this past year. They've added a little bit more grit, some more physical players, bringing in Ryan Reeves, Barclay Goodrow.
Sign me up for that first Tom Wilson meeting, please.
Yeah, and I mean, but yes,
just that one.
But like, you don't want to get away with what makes them good.
Right.
I mean, they're good because they're skilled and they make plays and they create goals, not because they try to out-muscle you or out-grit you or whatever that might be. So trying to find that balance between letting your best players be their very best, which is Zibanejad and Panarin and Fox and all those guys, and then also finding maybe some players that can maybe help you win when it gets a little grittier throughout the playoffs. Trying to find that balance of what Chris Drury is doing right now, but they have so many good pieces that are locked up long-term. They look set for the next 4 or 5 years, and that's not even talking about Capo Caco and Lafreniere.
Exactly, a little development
really
there
taking steps and becoming impact players.
Certainly is a special player. Vancouver loves having him. Elias Pettersson checking in at number 38. Same spot as last year. 38, exactly, in our countdown a year ago. And consistency is what this guy provides. Although, starting off last season a little bit slow, just 1 assist through his first 6 games, then started to pick it up. The Pettersson that we've come to know. 20 points in his next 20 games, and then besieged by a wrist injury. Caused him to miss the final 30 games of the season. But when this guy is on and when he is healthy, he is one of the superstars in the National Hockey League.
Speaks to how highly he's thought of, that he had an off-year injury-plagued season, and yet here he is in the top 50, in the top 40 once again. He's that good, and I hate doing this to anyone, but the way he plays kind of reminds me of Pavel Datsyuk. Like his stick skills, or his foot skills, apparently, when he keep up.
Crafty.
He is so slick with the puck, and not many players can kind of beat guys one-on-one with stick handling and undress goaltenders to the degree that Pettersson can. He's got that unique skill. And the other thing that has really impressed me since he's come to the NHL is that when you meet him, J-Mo, he is a wispy thin 170 pounds, maybe. Like, he is not a big, heavy player. That's right. And I was wondering if he was going to be able to score from distance. You don't be able to pass, be able to create, because that's instinctive. But could he shoot the puck past goaltenders? Well, when you average 32 every 80 games, that tells me, yes, you can absolutely shoot the puck past goalies. We saw the highlights there. Again, wrister, snapshot, one-timer. He can score from 35, 40 feet out. And when you can open up your offensive zone that much with those kind of opportunities when you're a threat from that far away, then it makes his other skills that much better. His passing, his vision, his stick handling, because people are drawn out towards you, more space behind them, and you can make some other things happen. But I think that is pivotal to him and his success, the fact that he can score and is a threat from outside the top of the circle.
I remember his rookie season a couple of years ago, and he comes in and, like you mentioned, looks like he's 140 pounds wet, and then he just wires them from, like, the blue line sometimes. Is it technique? Is it technology? What leads us to such a shot from such a slight guy?
It's both. It's harnessing the technology, understanding how the new sticks and getting it customized to his flex, weight, kick point, all those different things. And then it's technique, like knowing how to shoot properly as well and being able to really get it off. He is the catalyst of the Vancouver Canucks. He is undeniably their best player. And they got some pretty good ones around that team. But he is their best player, best forward for sure. And he came in highly touted and highly accomplished, playing over in Sweden, playing for Sweden in the World Championships at men's divisions. And he carries himself like a star. And that's a compliment. Not with the arrogance or ego where it's going to be a problem. But he expects himself to be really good. He walks in saying, I know I'm very good. I'm going to have no problem playing in this league because I'm that good. And he is. And he's backed up exactly how he carried himself. So he obviously believed in himself right away, and he's shown it every year he's played.
Talks the talk, walks the walk. Elias Pettersson checking in at number 38 on our top 50 countdown. At number 37, a man who needs no introduction, Marc-Andre Fleury, no longer wearing that sweater for Vegas. Traded to Chicago on July 27th. We were wondering if he was going to play. He made that announcement on social media.
He's coming back.
Ready to get to work, and boy, has he worked. And it has worked out well the last couple of years, winning his first ever Vezina trophy last season at the age of 36. Prior to that season, Fleury had never even been named a finalist for the Vezina. So why is this guy like a fine wine, just getting better with age?
Well, he's defying the odds because this doesn't happen. You don't get better at any position in the NHL in your mid-30s. And yet for Marc-Andre Fleury, it has. Well, one, he's a great athlete, keeps himself in great shape. But you look at a guaranteed Hall of Famer, but you look at what's happened since he went to Vegas, which was supposed to be the end of his career. Going to ride off in the sunset in the desert and retire because they're not going to be very good. He's not going to be very good. And his best years for a guy who's taken first overall, who's a lock Hall of Famer, who's won cups, came in the last few seasons with Vegas. What he has done there has been incredible. I would never have predicted it. I did not ever predict it. But I think part of the reason why he is so effective later in his 30s is that he is an athletic goalie who has not lost his athleticism. So he's not just a textbook guy where I play the angles, I sit down and hope the puck stops me. He's a goaltender. He reads and reacts, and he plays hockey. He doesn't just block pucks. He plays hockey. And I think that has allowed him, as the game has evolved, and become maybe more difficult for different goaltenders, ask them to make different kind of saves, and players are more aware about making goalies move. He's a great mover, always has been. And it's really amazing that he's been so good in Vegas, and he's going to have to be so good in Chicago to make them better next year.
Which is even more baffling because you would think a positional goalie who is sound and just maybe quiet in his movements would suit this narrative of getting better as age goes along. But
as hockey has changed, I think players and offenses realize we got to make goalies move. We got to make them go side to side. We got to look for rebounds and open them up. And that's what Marc-Andre Fleury does as well. It's
supposed to happen as you age. Father Time is supposed to catch up with you.
It caught me when I was 34.
Have you seen him on the ice to practice?
I saw the video.
Hawks. Unbelievable.
Also part of it, though, because he has such a zest and love for the game. Has so much fun on the ice and practices as hard as he does.
And no better guy in the room, it sounds like, right? For guys who have played with him.
Universally loved and respected in the room. Even when he goes through tough times, he's losing his starting job to Robin Lehner. They signed the other guy long-term. And yet
how happy are Hawks fans to see that video right there?
Delighted when he made his announcement saying, I'm coming to play, and he's going to give them stability, and a guy who, for most of his career, has been almost injury-free, a guy they can count on to play 60 games, who loves playing. And I know the analytics, which you know I'm a big fan of, tell you don't play the goalies that much, don't play them that often, will break down. He is, again, goes against the grain of thought where you can play him a ton, and the more he plays, in many ways, the better he plays. So he is going to be the backbone of Chicago this year. But it really is something how he's defied Father Time here the last few years.
It's better and better every year, it seems. And
first Vezina in 35.
That was wild. I mean, when you found out that was his first ever time being named a finalist, you're really a guy who's won 3 cups. He's 8 wins away from 500 wins. As a goalie, like you said, he's a future Hall of Famer. He's a lock, first ballot Hall of Famer, I would think, coming up. Look at the 2 names ahead of him.
There's no I would think.
and Patrick Waugh.
There is no I would think. They might waive the 3-year delay period for him to get in when he retires. That's how much of a lock that he is. He's been on good teams, and he's been a good player for his entire career. And even when he went to a bad team, he turned them into a good team in Vegas, and he's going to have to do the same because Chicago...
Is Chicago a lock for the playoffs this year now with Fleury in there?
No, not yet. Chicago is not good enough defensively just yet. We'll have to see how they play with some of the new bodies around them. Seth Jones in the mix and see if that changes anything. But Marc-Andre Fleury will keep him competitive in every game.
John Carlson checking in at number 36. The Big Caps Demon ranked 14th on our list last year, checking in at 36 this year. 31 years of age, coming up on October 12th. Over the last 4 years, no defenseman has put up more points than Carlson's 257. His 106 power play points are the most by a defenseman over the last 4 seasons. So you talk about OV and all the weapons they have on that power play. This seems to be the guy that kind of facilitates all that reward for Washington.
Yeah, and I think John Carlson probably doesn't get his just due because he plays with Backstrom, because he plays with Ovechkin. He has all those big names around him, and while he is a superstar player himself, maybe he doesn't steal the limelight. There's not enough of it going around. But you talk about the power play and how it's been a weapon for 15 years in Washington. First it was Mike Green, now it's John Carlson, and The last several seasons, he has the most power play points amongst defensemen. That's his job. That's what they ask him to do. That's what he's the best in the world at. Creating offense from the blue line on the power play or on 5-on-5. He's just got a great offensive mind. He understands time and space, where to attack it, where guys want the puck, where the opposition might be vulnerable. And you watch him play, he just makes so many good decisions, and you combine that with the excellent skill that he has with the puck to go along with it, and you see why when you think of the best offensive defenseman in the league, you know, it's Brent Burns, or it's Eric Carlson, or Tyson Barrie last year had the most points. You don't always immediately say John Carlson, but look, it's a runaway. He's got way more points than any other defenseman in the last few seasons. We should be saying his name first every time and not thinking about Victor Hedman or Roman Josi or these other guys who are all great defensemen himself, but he's got Burnsy by more than 30 points.
So why don't we see him as this offensive juggernaut on the blue line?
When we look at that jersey, who do we talk about? Always first, foremost, and for long stretches.
Yep.
Always Ovi.
Yep.
And now they make each other better. John Carlson benefits playing with Backstrom and Ovechkin.
But Hedman has so many offensive weapons up front as well. So why don't we talk about Hedman in the same light as Carlson?
Well, I imagine because Hedman, we have a little recency bias because of his success in the playoffs the last couple of years and his dynamic performance in those playoffs.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, but I don't think he was pushing for a Conn Smythe at that point. So,
I had him a lot higher on my list.
Yeah, I know you did, J-Mo. I know you did. Point is, we should. Yeah. The point remains, we should. We should talk about him higher when we think about offensive defense, and then we do. He is gifted, and he's done it. It's not a one-off. It's not an aberration. Mm-hmm. He does this every single season, just puts up points, power play 5-on-5, and he's not going to go away anytime soon. So certainly belongs in the spot on this list, and I'm probably guilty of probably not giving him enough credit as he deserves because he is a point-producing phenom.
All right, the narrative in Washington this year, all eyes on Ovi chasing down Gretzky's all-time goals record, and Ovi surprising, continuing to put up the impressive goal numbers that he does. When you look at this team as a whole, where are you as far as Washington goes? Trending up, trending down in the Metro?
They're trying to
just
prolong the window of opportunity, trying to keep it open as long as they can. And they're still there. They absolutely are still there. I mean, they've changed all their goaltender. They got younger. They have good goaltending now. They brought in. They still have Ovechkin, they have Backstrom, they have Mantha. They have the other guys that are going to be in there to help them along. They are going to be a threat, like they were last year. And I think a full 82-game season and a normal rhythm to the world might help Washington. I think they have guys that thrive in that situation, normal playoffs, crowds, all the rest of it. And they are a Stanley Cup contender. So I don't know if they're getting better, but they're not getting worse. They're still a Stanley Cup contender, which is what you want to be.
And probably getting some help as far as the realignment, going back to the old divisions, right? Getting the likes of like Boston out of that division, back in the Atlantic, let them deal with the Tampa's, Montreal's, and the like. So we'll see how it plays out this year for John Carlson and the Washington Capitals.